Анютик, привет! Ну что, ты хотела поговорить о воспитании детей в двуязычных семьях? Давай, устраивайся поудобнее и начнем. Так, raising a child in a bilingual family. Nowadays it's getting increasingly common. Телефон выключился. Подожди. Давай заново. Nowadays it's getting increasingly common for kids to learn two or more languages at a time, and to use them daily to communicate and understand people around them. In fact, some kids group up in places where 4 or even more languages are spoken. Being bilingual means understanding and expressing yourself in two languages and being able to convey your thoughts clearly in both. Being plurilingual means having these skills in more than two languages. Many people think English is the official language in the United States. This is not really so. Whereas some countries have official languages, the United States do not. In fact, in 2004, the United States had around 336 spoken or recorded languages. Can you believe that? Some US states, though, are officially bilingual. For example, in Louisiana, English and French are the state's official languages. In New Mexico, the official languages are English and Spanish. In Hawaii, they are English and Hawaiian. So being bilingual in the United States is not new. Some research shows that kids exposed to several languages are more creative and better at developing problem-solving skills. Other studies suggest that speaking a second language, even if only during the first years of life, helps build cognitive abilities so that a child will have an easier time learning other languages in the future. Some experts say that if parents and kids don't speak the same language at home, communication between them may suffer. As a result, parents may lose some control over their children, and, over time, kids might turn to negative influences, such as street gangs, to regain the sense of belonging they no longer experience at home. Several methods can help kids be bilingual. In each, it's very important to expose kids to both languages in different settings and to help them understand the significance of learning each language. Two approaches are recommended. The first one, the one parent, one language approach, means that each parent speaks a different language at home during the early years of their child's life. For example, the mother may talk to the child only in Russian, while the father may use just English. The second one, the minority language at home method, allows parents to establish a usage for each language. For example, while kids would only speak Russian at home, at school they would speak English. A multilingual person might develop each of the two languages, as if in case with one language, but it may not necessarily coincide in time. It's like playing catch-up. Either one language takes the lead, then another, depending on which environment dominates, what the child is interested in right now, and with whom he communicates. Language structures and words which were formed in one language can be partly transferred to another one, or partly added to each other, or even replaced from each other. If languages are strictly divided as per their utilization, for example, each parent uses his own language, or one language is spoken at home and everywhere else another one, then languages generally do not mix. A child always knows which person to contact in which language. However, if parents use both languages in communication, and also if there is more than one child in the family, the situation becomes more complicated. A child gets confused as to how to call his parents. He tends to mix words and statements, in which there are words and constructions from both languages. I have a very good example. My uncle has a friend who is married to an American. They live in the US all the time. They have a 4-year-old daughter, Anita, so only her Russian-speaking mom is talking Russian to her. Everybody else, her father, American grandpa and granny, are talking English to her. She's going to an American kindergarten in Florida, so all her friends in kindergarten are talking English as well. Once they came here to Nizhny Novgorod to see their Russian relatives, and my uncle met their bilingual family walking in the street. So he came up and greeted little Anita. He asked her in Russian whether she could count from 1 to 10, and she replied proudly, «Конечно могу. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look, she was absolutely right. She counted without any mathematical mistakes, but she mixed the languages. Well, the trend is such that the first child usually learns both languages better, the second one is worse at it, the third one is even worse. Старший умный был детина, средний был и так и сяк, ну а младший и вовсе был even worse. However, it often turns out that during school and university years, the weaker language gets up to speed through regular practice and daily studies. One thing to keep in mind is that language is closely related to lifestyle and culture. If the second language's culture is not represented in all its diversity, and there are no realities to which the corresponding names belong, then there is no reason to study them. For example, to get acquainted with the national cuisine, you need to cook and taste these dishes. To learn the names of fishing gear, you need to go fishing in the specific place and catch those fish that are found there in the manner adopted in these places. When raising a bilingual child, generally there is only one thing to bear in mind, that none of the languages will be developed at a sufficient level. Each language should be more or less monitored, but concern need to be arisen, but concern need to be arisen only when the child is unable to express himself, cannot find contact with his friends, is not interested in what is happening, does not want to develop, learn new things, read, play in either of the languages. Bilingualism is not an obstacle to development. On the contrary, it makes the child more competent, but if he has mental problems, they will be vividly expressed in his speech. Experts note that a bilingual child sometimes begins developing both languages later than in case with a single language child. Each of the languages can be represented by a somewhat smaller vocabulary and grammatical reserve, but altogether they will cover the potential of a monolingual child. Multilingualism is not a separate sport, but all around where only well-developed Multilingualism is not a separate sport, but all around where only well-developed personalities win. To sum it up, cognitive function of speech, cognition of the environment, forces parents to open the world to their child through their mother tongue, to join the value system, to formulate their thoughts in typical ways, to call the environment, separating the conscious from the mass of the visible and the audible. If this function doesn't work, then something is done incorrectly. The second language, even if it is absorbed simultaneously with the first one, still largely depends on it. Спасибо вам за внимание и хорошей вам подготовки к выступлению. Пока.